Good morning. It's 8:35. Let's start. Thank you very much for showing up here. And also we have online, we have almost 60 people online. Lots of people, almost 100, I guess, all together right now. And it's going to keep going higher and higher. We have a couple of, hopefully, quick updates. And after that, we do have some presentations from different parts of the campus. You have the agenda there, but for people online, it's just, you would follow. The quick update is that you know that our database is evolving. We are going from the old database to the new database. As a quick summary, the way the old database works, basically, you know that when you send a proposal to our office, you prepare all of the documentation, data sheet, which has 3-4 pages of information you fill out, and then scope of work, budget, and so on and so forth. And you send that package with some way, either through mail, email, or whatever it is, you send it to us. We use the data sheet to put the information in our database, and we would work with you on the proposal for review of what we have to do to hopefully enhance your proposal and move it forward. So that's the old database. The new database, it makes it easier for you because rather than typing all of the information in the data sheet, you really put the whole thing in the system. And the benefit of it is that you would see what's going on in the system once it's fully implemented. And that's the very important distinction between where we are right now and when it would be fully implemented for the whole campus to do what I just told you, that you would put all of the information in the rather than on data sheet in the system, and the raw thing would start. Right now, when you have everything on the data sheet, you have to send it to your chair in almost all cases. In some cases, some schools or colleges, they need dean approval too. And so you go through all that system and you send it to us. In the new system, the raw thing would be automatic. So it would make it easier for everybody, including your chairs, your deans, and so on and so forth, to do that. Right now, as of beginning of July, on the award and sub-award side, when we have any award or sub-award starting from July 1st, a month and a half ago, that information is in the new database, and the PI and the departments who are working on those awards, they can see the information. Again, there are variations in what I'm telling you. The PI would see everything. The supporting department, we have to work with them to give them the power to see things. That's for the awards and sub-awards. For proposals at this point, unless, again, I'll give you one, the exception. In general, still you do the same thing as you did before. We would put the information in the new database as if you were doing it when everything is implemented, and we move forward. Exception to what I just told you is the pilots we have to make it easy for the campus to transition to the new system and also to get rid of the bugs that are in any system like this, rather than making the system available to everybody and pushing everybody in there. We are going to stepwise through pilots. We have been working with a dozen departments from different colleges who have been helping us, and thank you very much for that, to transition. So that's what we are doing. The next step is to make it available to the rest of the campus, and I would like our Executive Associate Vice Chancellor to explain to us what the next step is. Thank you, Cindy.
So I want to try and preemptively avoid confusion about our system. And I'm going to steal an analogy from Terry, who's in the room here, that he has used in some of our trainings, because I think it was very effective. I used it yesterday too when I was talking to the assistant deans of all of the colleges and schools, and it seemed to be very effective. So how many are familiar with the Microsoft Office suite? Everybody, yeah, pretty much. It's pretty standard. And you know that there are different modules in Microsoft, right? Word, Excel, Outlook. They perform different functions, right? That's pretty, easy to understand. Cayuse is the same thing. It's like a Microsoft suite of tools. We have the award tool and the sub-award tool. That was launched, as Ahmed just said, July 1st. And that's primarily all the data entry and everything is happening in sponsored programs, and you have view access to those things, right? So that's the award tool, already launched, already mandatory for everyone to use in order to pick up their award documents, see their subs, manage things, okay? So that's already done for everybody. The next piece of the tool that I'm going to talk about is it's called the Nsf 424 tool. And those of you who have filled out federal forms for proposal applications understand that Nsf 424 nomenclature, right? Because that's where we fill out forms in order to send in a proposal through grants.gov to your federal agencies. Cayuse has a tool that's kind of like TurboTax, okay? You can either fill it out just the same way that you would fill out your Adobe form set, or it has on the left side, you can navigate by filling it out, kind of like TurboTax. It has, okay, here are the errors that'll prevent submission, and if you click on it, it'll take you to that part of the application that has to be filled in so that you don't miss anything along the way. All right, so that is the Nsf 424 tool that you can use to submit your federal applications. That was launched over a year ago. It is currently available to anyone that wants to use it. We just haven't mandated its use, but it's available to everyone. There's been a large pickup on that tool because it's easy to use. It's easier than doing the Adobe form set. It's easier for sponsored programs. It's easier for the PIs. It's easier for the department administrators. It does your budgeting calculations for you, right? It pulls in your salaries. It does all those kinds of things for you. So we're already encouraging people to use that tool. We just haven't mandated it yet, okay? So that's the other module that I wanted to talk about. The one piece, the module that we are piloting is, I'm gonna call the electronification of the data sheet. And it's called Cayuse SP, right? So we are taking our data sheet that right now you fill out and you go get signatures on it and you upload it as a PDF and put it in Dropbox, or if you're, so this is the normal process. So how this is going to change with Cayuse SP, you fill out the information in SP, which is your compliance information. Do you have human subjects, animal subjects, export control questions, the things that you have to do so that internally we know what's happening, but that information never goes out to the sponsor, right? It's internal. It's also our routing mechanism, okay? It's how people will get it, see it, sign off on it, move it to the next level for sign off. So it's both the data sheet and it's the routing piece of the data sheet. No more ink signatures. So this is the module that we are piloting to roll out college by college, okay? Any questions so far? All right. So it's kind of like you have the suite and we're implementing each piece of the suite in slightly different ways. Now something's happened because I was talking with the deans to complete our Cayuse SP rollout, which is the data sheet routing mechanism, through February of 2018, right? We're going to do about 2 colleges a month and get it rolled out in that manner. Well, something happened earlier this week. The federal government announced they will no longer be accepting the Adobe form sets. Those Adobe Nsf 424 form sets go away December 31st. Poof. Okay? So everything at the federal level is now changing relative to grants.gov submissions. So what they said is, the last packet we're going to deliver to you from a federal agency is December 31st. You can continue to use those packets through March, and then afterwards it goes away. But if you didn't download it before December 31st, you can't use it. It won't be available after December 31st. Those Adobe packets will go away. Does it make sense? So I had a conversation with the assistant deans. What does this mean for our timeline? Would you prefer that we say, okay, those of you pilots, or not pilots, those of you who haven't gone live yet, by January or February, you can continue to submit the old way, but we have to remind everybody, please download your Adobe packets before December 31st or you're up a creek, right? Not completely, but what you'd have to do is learn their new system. It's called Workspace, right? So that's the alternate that they're providing us. It's a different mechanism. So you can either learn up on Workspace, this new mechanism, or you can learn up on Cayuse. Cayuse 424. Because that is, and I mean, that's the workspace of the future, right? Because we will be mandating it in the future. Nsf 424 is going to be the way we submit proposals to the federal government. And so you might as well, I think, and this is kind of what the assistant deans mentioned, instead of confusing people with, yeah, use the Adobe form sets through March if you downloaded it before December 31st, but those who've are done with their little onboarding, then they need to use Cayuse 424, but those who haven't, you know, it gets really confusing, right? So the assistant dean says, rather than confuse everybody, let's move up the launch schedule and have everyone launched by December 31st. Okay? So that's now our new goal as of yesterday. We're working with the deans to move those who are scheduled to go in January and February to move them up into an earlier time frame. And we're negotiating that right now in real time. So we will know more probably by the end of this week about who's going to go in September, October, November, and December, but we're going to have to do 3 colleges a month instead of 2. So that's where we are. The idea is at the beginning of the month is when we do the onboarding for your college, the training, getting everybody access to the system. By the end of the month, it will be mandatory for your college to submit through Cayuse SP and 424 if it's a federal application. So that is the plan each month. So by the end of December, everyone would be on the new platform.
Okay.
Good? Great.
Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there are some instances where proposals will have to be submitted through what's a workspace, where in instances where proposals are invited, like Bureau of Land Management sometimes does that, and they make calls available only to a few individuals, and they put the number in. Most likely that will not be available in 424. In those instances, it's recommended that both workspace and Cayuse 424.
So Pat was saying that there are going to be some opportunities that are going to require use of workspace that aren't supported by the form sets in 424. And in those instances, we would work with you to help you with workspace when necessary. There are 2 other exceptions that we talked about with our team. One is Nsf Fastlane Proposals. Okay. NSF has told us that Fastlane will be going away, but they haven't given us a date yet. And they're going to be going to a tool, I think it's called research.gov. Mm-hmm. And so that's more similar to grants.gov. But prior to that transition, we will still accept that you use Fastlane to submit your proposal, but you will be routing that using Cayuse SP, which means in the application that you're routing, you simply tell us this is the proposal, the actual proposal is in Fastlane. And then after it's been submitted, the analyst will upload the final version of that proposal into Cayuse, so we have a copy of it as like a PDF. So that's that's one exception. The other, until they go to research.gov, and then we'll just use Cayuse for the NSF proposals as well when that transition happens. Then the other exception was, remind me. Oh, assist proposals, NIH assist proposals. They have NIH has given us a tool that is quite effective at the really large kind of program grant, development of those really big proposals, U's and P's. And it's a pretty good tool. So we're not going to force the assist type proposals to go through Cayuse unless you want to. So those are the 2 exceptions. I haven't talked about that one yet, so I'm not going to announce it yet. Good?
Okay. Any questions online? I don't see anything from online either. Oh, there's a question. Is there?
Okay.
Oh, there's no question. Somebody's chatting there. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I hope I have clarified and not muddied the waters for everyone relative to what we're doing. Thank you for the analogy, Terry. It was very, very valuable.
Thank you very much. Okay, Chris, do you want to talk about, hopefully quickly, whatever deadlines you are looking at?
Okay, so
Proposal side.
yes, proposal deadlines. So a couple of things really quick. There's several Nsf proposal deadlines coming up. On the 5th, there's 4 multiple Nsf deadlines. You can look them up through Nsf deadlines. On the 15th is a very large submission deadline. There's 17 multiple applications due on the 15th for Nsf. On the 18th, there's 3. On the 27th, there's 4. And on the 29th, there's 3. Again, I highly recommend that you go to Fastlane's deadline calendar, and they will identify all the different announcements, program announcements that they have available. The 15th will be a very large deadline, so we highly recommend that you submit your proposals at least 5 working days in advance so that we can make sure to get you a full review on your application in a timely manner. NIH, on the 5th of September is the STTR and SBIR. So hopefully if your faculty member is working with an industry partner, they're already working out those relationships, the roles. We will be a sub-award on those projects. We are not the lead, and we will not be filling out the application for the industry partner. Neither should the department administrator, because that's not your role. It's a conflict of interest. If they need assistance, our office can offer assistance through the
IA has classes there.
yes, yes.
Venture Capital Group.
Venture, yes, under Innovation Action.
Venture, not capital, Catalyst.
Catalyst, yes.
Not Venture Capital, Venture Catalyst.
On the 25th, there's a couple different deadlines for NIH. The P-Series program projects for grants and center grants. There's the research demonstration education projects. The T-Series for other training, construction grants, and then other activities that are usually part of the G-Series of the NIH. At this time, I was not able to find any USDA calls for September, so we might be through the hurdle with all the USDA proposals that we had going on. September 13th, this is a big one. This one is for the U.S. International U.S.-Israel Binational Agricultural Research and Development Fund, also known as BARD, B-A-R-D. That is September 13th. That is a big submission for a lot of collaborators who work with Israel partners. This is a really big opportunity for your faculty. I highly recommend that you guys look at this and see if your faculty are interested in partnering up with somebody in Israel. They are very valuable to have for creating relationships. That deadline is September 13th. Then, other than that, there's a couple housekeeping things. We want to just make sure that everybody's aware of and we're all on the same page. When you have, when you're submitting your data sheet or your proposal through SP, the electronic data sheet, we want to make sure that the submission deadline is reflective of the sponsor's deadline. There seems to be some confusion. We'll get a deadline that says maybe the 10th, but the sponsor deadline is really not until the 15th. So we're rushing to get something reviewed when really all you wanted is to make sure that you had feedback by the 10th. So we want to make sure that we are accurately identifying what that submission deadline is for that sponsor. If there's a situation in which your PI would like the proposal submitted sooner, once that proposal is assigned to the proposal analyst, work with them to identify that even though the deadline's the 15th, the PI is leaving town, we want to submit it by the 12th, we're going to work with you to meet that deadline. So if you have any questions, feel free to call me or your analyst. 2 other things really quick. Our indirect cost rate agreement has been updated to reflect the approved composite benefit rates. That is posted on our website. That new date, the agreement date, is 6/27/2017. This is important to know because you need to use this in your applications when you're asked these questions. So no longer use the 6/21/2016 date. It is again available on our website under the indirect cost section of the sponsored programs website. Additionally, under institutional information, that document has also been updated on our website to identify that the cognizant agency representative for human health services, they dropped the D, I don't know why, but so it's HHS instead of DHHS now. That information has been updated. It's no longer Ernest Willard, it's Karen Wong, thank you. Thank you very much, Victoria. It's Karen Wong. The phone number is still the same. So that information has been updated along with USDA's ASAP number. A lot of us who are submitting proposals to USDA did not know what that ASAP number is when it talks about the payments. That has been added to that list so that you have it readily available when you do your next USDA proposal. Other than that, I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay.
All right, thank
Good,
you.
Good. Regarding the deadlines and the amount of time we need for review, we have been talking about that in almost every forum. So you really have to help us to review the proposals properly, and we need enough time. And enough time, we have been telling you 5 days. But there are lots of situations that, for good reason, things don't come in with advanced amount of time, enough time for us to review. Please know that, to be fair to everybody, we have to take care of the ones who have been here already. And we have to meet those deadlines. Having said all of that, we try not to miss a deadline, which means that if you give us something with not enough time to review a proposal, which has been in this office maybe for, I don't know, a day or 2 hours, you might end up with a cover letter which says that we didn't review this. We have no idea what's in there, basically. We would use different words than that, but it just, we are just pushing it through. Hopefully when you get the award, we have to review it, which means that you're at the award, things would get slowed down. And I have been in situations that a sponsor would say, wait a minute, you send a proposal and now you are telling me you have problems. We can't accept an award which is not in conformity with university policy. It won't happen. And not that often, but we have lost awards on that basis. So you have to be careful. Don't give us just 1 day, 2 days. We try our best to review, but it might not get reviewed because there are other ones in front of you that we are reviewing. And also, once we review something and there are problems to fix and we let you know, and you come in like maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes before a deadline, you are at the end of the line now. It's just there are other ones in front of you. So those are issues that I have to almost every day explain to the PIs, but there's nothing else we can do. I mean, you guys are in the same boat. I know that in the department, you have the same issues. But then, I do understand their side too, the PI side. We are here, by the way, the only reason all of us are here is to provide service to the researchers. And they want to have the best proposal or narrative, and they are working on it to the last minute. So I do understand that part. But there is a huge risk by not giving us enough time. Enough said on that. Let's see. Yes.
We had a question online about high use.
Just could you say the question and then we go from there.
The question online is, will you be receiving summary sheets anymore?
Okay.
Yeah, and you said, Grace, you're going to cover that?
Okay. We are going to, we are going to talk about awards, and Grace is going to cover that. Before getting there, I want to just give you one more update. I have been getting questions regarding the indirect cost for state of California. I said it last time, and it's a confusing situation. But let me tell you again how the rates for awards we receive from state of California is applied right now. You remember last year, first of all, we have AB 20, the new system of awarding. The 10 campuses of UC, as well as the 23 campuses of California State University, we all work together, 33 entities working with State of California on all of these issues regarding AB 20. And on the side of the recipient of the awards, universities, the decision has been that, for good reason, that we are not recovering enough indirect costs from State of California. They are not paying full cost, basically. So the decision has been at the level of the chancellors of all these entities that we started with 25% indirect last year. This is generally for all of State of California, and I would tell you the exception, which is CDFA and some marketing boards. I'll tell you about that. In general, so we started with 25% last year. It was supposed to go to 30% a month and a half ago, beginning of July, and then every year would increase 5% to get to the maximum of 40%, as opposed to our 57, which is with federal government, recognizing obviously, state has investment in universities. So again, it was supposed to go from 25 to 45% increase each year. As of July 1st of this year, it was supposed to be 30%, but the decision was made in consultation with state that OP, Office of the President, as well as CSU, they agreed that they would hold it at 25% for this year, and next July would go to 30, and keeps going forward to 40. So that's in general, for all of State of California. Exception being CDFA. CDFA, rather than those numbers I told you, the decision was that the indirect would start at 10%, keeps going up 5% to the maximum of 25. The first increase became effective July 1st of this year. So we are right now at 15%, and we are going up. So that's CDFA. Another exception to all of this is commodity boards. Commodity boards traditionally have been subject to lower indirect, in most cases 0. And discussions last year were that this year, starting from July 1st, they would know we have to start collecting indirect from commodity boards. Since no exact number was decided within the system, a decision was made not too long ago that we would keep status quo for this year only. So commodity boards still this year are under the same rule that they were last year, whatever it was. Most of them are subject to 0%. Some of them might be 2, 5, or whatever they are. So status quo, that's where we are this year. And OP is working with, commodity boards are under CDFA. State is working with CDFA to come up with a decision for next year, hopefully. So that's commodity board. Now, there are some entities which act like commodity boards, but they are not on list of CDFA commodity boards. For the time being, and think this might change, for the time being, this campus and other campuses will receive money from those entities which act like commodity boards, but they are not on list of commodity boards. Those are subject to indirect of CDFA, whatever CDFA is right now, which is 15% now. So I know these are all lots of numbers I threw at you. These might be confusing, but case by case, we can work with you to help you go forward. Any questions on that? I don't see anything here. Okay, so Grace, do you want to talk about awards and also answer the question that came in? Thank you.
Another question you might want to answer too.
Another question.
About Cayuse and SP. And then it says, how long does it take, now that we're doing Cayuse SP, how long does it take before it should appear in the system? What is the processing period before it can be reviewed and by OR? And when can the department expect feedback for additional documentation requirements?
Okay, all right. So that question was about the timeline of Cayuse SP proposal routing and review. All right, let me take it in order. So first of all, about the summary sheet. After you go live actually now, okay, because the summary sheet is on the award side. So starting July 1st, you did not get a summary sheet emailed to you anymore for your award. Now, you were told of your award by your award analysts. They must have talked with the PI and the department to get all the compliance items and to get PI concurrence on the award. So you knew that you had an award, and all of the relevant information is in Cayuse. You were given the award number. So now you are responsible for going to check your award in Cayuse. All of the information is there at your fingertips whenever you want it. You're just not going to get an email in your inbox with that summary sheet, but all of the information is still at your disposal. Okay, now speaking of Cayuse SP proposal routing and review, when you fill out, okay, our pilot departments know what we're talking about. When you fill out the tabs, you know, the TurboTax tabs, as Cindy says, when you fill those out and you hit submit for routing, you will see the status of a proposal is what? Department approval, right? And you can see the status change. Now it depends how long the approval process takes. If your PI and your department chair approve right away, it will get to SPO pretty quickly. If they sit on it, then it will wait for their approval, their certification and approval. So much of it does depend on how fast they click their button on their side. Once it gets to sponsor programs, the status will change to admin office and review. Admin office means sponsored programs. Once you see that status on your proposal, you will know that we have it. And at that point, sponsor programs will assign that proposal to your proposal analyst. And then it will say PS review, proposal specialist in Cayuse language. So an admin office review means it got to SPO. PS review means it was assigned to your analyst. Any questions about that online?
5 days.
The time frame for the review is still 5 days. In case, okay, the proposal specialist can't review the package any faster. Cayuse SP delivers it to us electronically versus a data sheet, but our proposal specialists are still taking 5 days for their review. How about for awards? Well, that depends on how fast we get the compliance items and if the award agreement, you know, meets university policies. So Cayuse does not speed up the actual review process. It speeds up getting approvals, hopefully. Okay, but for the awards side, I don't think Cayuse SP is going to speed up our review time because most of the time what we're doing is waiting for compliance items or waiting for the sponsor to get back to us when we have suggested language changes. Cayuse unfortunately won't help us there. But you being the department and the PI, can see the documents and also the notes for our negotiation. So you shouldn't have to call us and say, what happened to my award? You should be able to go to your award, look at the notes and say, oh, it's under negotiation with the sponsor. Okay. Okay, just a quick note about project reports. So I was reminded to say something about this because the Grant Oversight and New Efficiency Act, which is the GONE Act, G-O-N-E, requires federal agencies to submit a report to Congress of all federal grant awards that expired on or before September 30th, 2015 that are not closed. Now the reason federal awards aren't closed is because they have overdue project reports. So, you know, if your reports are overdue more than 2 years, I don't think any UC Davis reports fall into that category. But if we have overdue reports, they will eventually be reported to Congress. So this is a pretty big deal. Now, just as a reminder, for Nsf reports, there are 3 types of required reports, right? There's the annual report, the final report, and the project outcome report. The annual and final project reports must be approved by the cognizant Nsf program officer, but the project outcome report does not. All right, so annual and final reports must be approved. The annual reports are due 90 days prior to the end of the current budget period. The final reports and the project outcome report are due 120 days after the end of the award. Right, so if you have any questions about this, you can look at the Nsf proposal and process guide in chapter 7. Now, reminder notices for these reports are sent to the PIs, the co-PIs, as well as sponsored programs. But we're not going to take any action on them, we being sponsored programs, because only the PI and co-PIs may submit the reports in research.gov. So even if you see sponsored programs copied on those project report emails, we're not going to take any action. We're waiting for the PI to take action. a quick reminder about NIH reports. So there are 3 types of research performance progress reports, right? Or RPPRs. For NIH, that's annual, interim, and final RPPRs. And you guys know how to upload those and report them through ERA Commons. So if you have any questions on Wednesday, August 30th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 11 to 12:30 our time, NIH is holding a webinar on RPPRs. Okay, so that's next Wednesday, August 30th. You might want to encourage your PIs to attend the webinars, right? They're really the ones who need to know how to put in the right information. Okay, just a quick reminder, NSF is moving. They are now starting their 6-week phased move to their new location in Alexandria, Virginia. The move begins now, the end of August through October 1st. So during this time, you can expect some delayed responses from your program officers. However, the staff email addresses and phone numbers still remain the same and will continue to be the same through their move. Are there any questions about awards issues or Cayuse issues? Okay.
Thank you very much. Let's see. There is a question here, a follow-up on indirect cost, State of California, that I explained to you. So hopefully you don't want me to repeat the whole thing. Instead, no, there's a lot to talk about. The specific question has to do with what would happen if a call for proposal, RFP from state, says indirect is a number less than what we are supposed to follow. And the question goes on saying that, and the RFP would say, or somebody there in state would say that they won't review your proposals if we go with a higher indirect, which is what we have to do. So in other words, the RFP calls for, let's say, 5% indirect, 10% indirect, and we are saying that it should be today 25%. What would happen then? Very good question. That is a very charged question and subject to a lot of discussions at OP. The bottom line is that you know that anytime indirect is less than whatever is supposed to be, either federal negotiated or in this case, what we are supposed to follow based on what OP has decided on indirect. We have to get exception to the policy of recovery of that indirect from OP. There is no authority on campus to accept a lower indirect. So now think about it logically, step by step. To get that exception, however, and I'll tell you the process in this area how it is. To get the exception, it would take some time. Now we have a proposal in front of us with deadlines next, let's say Monday. Hopefully you gave us 5 days, and it has that restriction. There is no way we would be able to accept, to go to OP, get the exception, come back in time for your proposal. So we have to send the proposal with 25%. Or if there's some other problems doing that, we have to, in the cover letter, we have to say that, yes, it is coming to, we are sending the proposal at the request of the PI with lower indirect, but at the time of award, unless if we have exception to policy from OP, we have to apply full indirect. So that's the answer to that part. Now the question is how the exception works. In general, again, exceptions work, as I told you, we put the package together, go to OP, there is a group who reviews it, and finally the head of the office who, RPAC, who's responsible for this, endorses it, or they tell us they won't accept it. In the case of the state of California, because of all of the issues that I told you have been going on for the last 3-4 years, the CFO of the system has kept the jurisdiction on looking for every exception that we send them based on a lower indirect for the state of California. He wants to review every single one of those himself, and he is reserving the right to disapprove them. As a part of the package that we send to him, he has said it's not enough to say that this is what RFP says. He wants a documentation from quote unquote chancellor or chancellor's designee explaining why we are asking for lower indirect. And again, it's not enough to say that RFP says so. In other words, the chancellor has to say that I support getting lower indirect, and this is my reason. He wants that. Now, adding to what I told you, we have to send a package to go to the chancellor or chancellor's designee. It might be the vice chancellor for research, to review and give us that letter. I leave it to you to tell me how long it would take to get that letter to send it to OP. So that's the answer to that question. So really the bottom line, for all practical purposes, we have to enforce the indirect, which is there at the time of proposal. If it's not there, we have to say that at the time of award, it has been there. It has to be there. And if we don't get it, there is no award. So hopefully this helps. And again, please understand that we don't have any authority to change these things. It is in the control of CFO right now. Until they come up with, they are negotiating with state, hopefully they would get somewhere. I don't know where they would get. Okay? Hopefully I answered the question online that came in, and the individual who sent it, if they have more regarding that, please send me an email and I would work with you. Thank you. Okay, what else? Let's see. Fun parts of international travel. You want to talk about it now? Thank you.
Projector coming back on.
Okay. Thank you. And you want to tell them who you are, what office? You're not a part of Office of Research.
That's right. A strange face here. Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you for letting me hijack the meeting for a few minutes. My colleague JP's in the back. He'll be speaking shortly. My name is Mark Rennenkamp. I'm with the Office of Global Affairs. Travel Security Manager is my actual position. Brief background about myself. Spent several years on the East Coast doing travel logistics, health, safety, and security for international travel. And this presentation is kind of part of a broader effort to engage the university on many of the services that various entities offer international travelers. Anybody that's with the university on official travel, either domestically or internationally, there's a wealth of services that are incredibly helpful. But they're being underutilized. And I think the priority for my presentation this morning, I'll try to be respectful of time here, is to get the word out about registering trips. So I'd like to take just a quick informal poll. How many of you have traveled on university business, either domestically or internationally? Just a quick show. Quite a few. Good. How many of you used Aggie Travel or Connexus to book your travel? That's wonderful. That is good to see. Please keep doing that. Please do that. I'm not going to shame the folks who did not use Aggie Travel, but we're aware that a lot of travel is booked outside of Aggie Travel. People go on kayak or what have you. Please don't do that. But if you do, we urge you to register your trip. So again, if you've done your travel booking with Aggie Travel, it's automatically registered. You're fine. Don't worry about this. But if for some reason you have to book your travel outside of the official kind of channels, trip registration is incredibly important, and we strongly encourage everyone to do it for a number of reasons. First of all, once your trip is registered, it goes into a database with our partner iJet. They're a private intelligence company. Some of you might have received their emails. They send out travel alerts. If there's a weather event, a security incident, a health concern anywhere around the world, and they know that you're in that particular location, they're going to send you an alert. And I've read through, I get a lot of these. They are, frankly, they're concise. They cut through all of the kind of the noise that you get if you were to go online or look on CNN. They give you very, very detailed information that is incredibly valuable when you're traveling, whether you need to change flights or adjust your behavior, your routine. So again, that's the primary kind of benefit. Secondary is you get immediate access to the university's travel insurance program. You get a wealth of data there that will also help in the event of an emergency or crisis. If you're abroad and something happens in, say, Bangladesh, we'll know ahead of time. We'll know in a timely manner that there's something going on. We know that you're there, and that is incredibly helpful if, God forbid, you need to be evacuated or receive assistance. So what I'm going to do right now is very briefly run through. Do I need to hit share here, or are we?
You're good.
Okay,
It's okay.
great. It's an incredibly easy process. Again, if you're outside of Aggie Travel and you are registering your trip, the best way I found is to go to our website here at Global Affairs. You can also just Google UC Davis trip registration, go up to travel, and then there's a little blurb right here. And then we click on register, and then I'm going to sign in here. All right, and it's very simple. Are people familiar with this? Have you done this before? Great. Okay, if you have, great. For folks at home or in front of a computer, if you haven't, this is a very simple interface. I'm just going to put in a random trip. So let's say we're going from San Francisco over to, let's go to Nairobi, and then let's just say we're departing on Monday. And then let's say we're going from Nairobi to, oh gosh, Delhi. All right, this is a lengthy swing. Add another day. And then we're coming back, let's say we're coming back to Sacramento. All right, and that's pretty much it. It's very simple. Once you've put in your destinations, you just click Add Travelers. Since I'm logged in, it automatically populates your information. For folks at home or in front of a computer, this is your chance to look up my contact information. I'll explain why in a second, or to jot it down. And then you can add in additional features and information. Let's see if I got that. Yep. Then you hit add, then you add your, let's see what I'm missing here. Oh, I am a faculty or staff employee. You hit add. Now you see at the bottom here, I'm the traveler that has just been registered. If you want to add another traveler on the same itinerary, it's very easy. You just put in the information. Next step, add your purpose. Let's say I'm going for administrative activities. Sounds like fun. Next trip, and then here we go. This is basically your final page. Once you have that, you kind of review it. When you're all set, hit submit. That'll link you to your insurance information. You'll get an email from iJet. Highly recommend you follow the instructions on that email from iJet. That gives you access to a wealth of information to do a little bit of research on the destinations that you'll be going to. They keep all of their databases updated literally up to the minute, and in terms of events and security changes in each country. So that's it. Very simple. Once you're in the system, then you'll get these updates. Any questions on trip registration? Very simple process. Again, most of you probably are familiar with it, but please do it if you're not using Aggie Travel. I'm speaking to a room of about 30 here. There's maybe 60 at home. That's great. Almost 180. Great. That's quite a few people, but that's wonderful. But what I asked you to do is to spread this word. Spread the word to your PIs, your faculty. Be a multiplier if you can, please.
I have one question.
Yes.
If you could repeat it.
Yes.
If we use Aggie Travel for personal use, are we covered under the UC Travel insurance? And will we receive updates?
That is a wonderful question. The short answer is
Could you repeat, please?
yes. Thank you. The question was, if you travel on if you booked personal travel, will you be covered by the UC travel insurance plan? Short answer is no. Personal travel. This is the Davis or the UC's travel insurance policy and program is for official travel only. That being said, you can purchase personal travel insurance with that same exact vendor, and it's very simple. All you have to do is I would just go on Google and type in UC personal travel insurance program, and you'll get rates, data. There's two separate plans that you can sign up for. They're basically the same thing, but yes, please, for personal travel, please register your trips as well, and if you're so inclined to also purchase that personal travel insurance plan. Yes.
When you register, still you get all of those updates. That's the beauty of this system, if I understand correctly.
That's correct. The question is, yeah, if you register, yes, you will get these updates. If this is your first time registering, you'll get an initial email and you set up your profile with iJet, which is, again, that private intelligence risk management company that frankly, and I've been on the receiving end of a lot of different international information. They do a good job of cutting through the noise and again, giving you the information that you need to have a safe and successful trip. I think that's, if there's nothing else on travel registration, I will briefly plug my colleagues at Occupational Health. This is separate, but they weren't able to attend today. Let's see. So this is another one of the services that is offered to UC Davis travelers traveling overseas, or this is primarily for overseas. If you go to the Occupational Health main webpage, you go down to the travel program, you'll see all the services that are offered free, no cost, free, very free, immunizations and travel health reports for each destination that you're thinking about or planning to attend, or that your researchers, your faculty, your PIs are planning to go visit for work purposes. And I'll wrap up. Just one quick note. Please use me as a resource. If you are planning to travel, somebody's planning to travel anywhere in the world, has any questions, health, safety, security, anything along those lines, please use me as a resource. I have a stack of business cards right there. The goal is to get rid of as many as I can today. And hopefully I'll put up that, I can just repeat my phone number if folks are interested. It's 530-752-9543. Yeah, I think that wraps it up on my end. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer those. Nothing. Great. Thank you very much, and I'll hand it over to my colleague, JP.
For him, not for me. Hey guys, I'm gonna do something similar for y'all. Anybody in here seen the movie Indiana Jones? Anybody feel like you got Indiana Jones in your department? Any of your researchers go out there and those are Indiana Jones types? Probably a little less likely, but has anybody seen the movie 127 Hours? Okay, so the key in that movie, to spare you the details, a guy who leads field trips goes out by himself into the field and he doesn't tell anybody where he's going. It's based on a true story. He got stuck. And at the end, this is something I watched a couple weekends before starting this position, which was kind of ironic. So it made me think about it. But at the end, one of the things it says is he continues to go out. He ended up surviving the ordeal. He continues to go out on these field excursions by himself, but he always tells someone where he went. Where he is, where he can be found. And some of the memories he goes through while he's stuck out there are that he didn't tell his friend in the store that he works in. He didn't tell his parents. He didn't tell anybody. So that's what we want to get started here. Really, I'm the relationship guy. I'm here to get everybody into the field safety program. We're not really regulated in the same sense that the lab safety guys are, where we're going to come in and inspect and kind of poke you in the eye what you're doing wrong. We're trying to encourage people to engage where they're not already planning. If they're going out into the field, they're responsible adults. They're doing some planning for themselves already. So what you're about to see, and I'm going to bring up on the screen, they're probably doing some of this already. This form will just help them kind of fill in some of those gaps and help us figure out where we can supply equipment or training to help support the field research that's already happening at UC Davis. If you'll bear with me for a second. So the way that we'll get to this, and I want to give you kind of, because I can't send you links, if we just search for UC Davis safety on Google, then we can come up with safety services. And the best way to get around our website is to search, not to try to find through links. So we'll search field safety. Oh, and trip planning comes up second. See, electrical and magnetic fields is something that I'll deal with in the future too, but right now we're doing field safety. So trip planning is what we're talking about when I talk about field safety today. And the key thing I want to plug, just like we were plugging registering your trip, is this field safety plan template. So if you'll see on this template, let me zoom in a little bit. Like I said, a lot of this is stuff that the people are probably already doing. But we talked about 127 hours where he didn't tell anybody where he was going. And you see this box over here, university contract, someone not on the trip, provide person a copy of this field safety plan. So we're just trying to get them to let someone know where they're going and when. And you can see here, frequency of check-ins, that they have a plan to check in. And then if they don't check in, then somebody knows there's something that they may need help. Of course, things change when you're out in the field. So it's good to have a contingency plan there too, where, hey, I'll send a text saying, hey, I'm going to be out an additional 2 hours or something like that. But you can see how contact is a big part of this. Again, this isn't an official thing. It's not something it's not as fancy as Mark's. You can't submit it online right now, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Mine's a little faster too.
Yeah, it's a little faster. Again, they're doing some planning. We have a field safety program, a field research safety program out there by default right now. They're taking care of it themselves. We want to try to afford a little more of it for them. So obviously some of the things that we want them to do is to consider the nearest emergency services. And one of the things here, the further out they're going, one of the thresholds we want y'all to maybe bring up to them is, hey, look, are you going to be potentially outside of cell phone service? That's a big threshold for us to cross these days because we take so much of that for granted. I know when I went camping, we took our cell phones. That was our backup emergency thing. We couldn't get cell phone service at the site where we camped, but we knew if we went up the hill, at the top of the hill, we could get service. So that's something good to think through. Another one that I like here is this go, no-go criteria. And yeah, right there. This is important to think through because a lot of times we'll get anchored, and especially our researchers. I've worked with academics enough to know that they really want to do what they're out there to research. They're really passionate about what they're doing. I was watching the movie 8 Below the other day with my kids. It's about 8 dogs that get left below in Antarctica, okay? The researcher was so anchored on wanting to find what he found that he walked off where he was told it wasn't safe and they had an accident. Or I think actually at that point in the movie, they just scare you that there's going to be an accident, but there actually wasn't one. But they're passionate about what they do. So this is good to recommend that they go through. Something I think of here, real low hanging example is if you're doing something on top of a mountain, a go, no go criteria would be if there's lightning in the area. Something as simple as that, thinking through it and going ahead and taking that. I'm a human factors engineer, so that's why I say anchoring on that idea. They're anchored on the idea of success with what they're doing. So if you can, any way that we can keep people from anchoring on things, which leads you to go down paths that end up getting you hurt. So directions to site, we're going to work on this form, so the flow of it may change. That's why I wanted to show you how to search to get there. Directions to the site, parking areas, assembly areas. This is good for emergency situations, how we extract people. Thinking about the weather, this is actually where regulations will come into play because in California, we have regulations for the heat in terms of the availability of water and the availability of access to shade. So if anybody's getting paid on this trip, or grad students, faculty, they actually fall under these Cal OSHA regulations. We try to treat students in the same way that we treat employees. So in this sense, if it's just students, doesn't mean we don't treat them in this way and afford them the same benefits. So we actually have a memorandum we've written up to give guidelines for providing funds for this, because this isn't something that should be a burden on the student or the employee to provide in this case. Legally, it's our responsibility. So as it goes through PPE, if they're working with hazardous materials, this is something that's taken care of in the LHAT. We don't have a hazard assessment tool for outside of lab areas right now. So this basically serves as your LHAT. So you can see as it goes through, it makes them think, do they have cell phone coverage? Do they have a satellite phone or a device? We actually have one two-way GPS satellite communicator. Two-way meaning you can't call on it, but you could text on it. And it has an emergency SOS button. You do need a clear view of the sky to use it. So if you're under a canopy, you need to move to a place and be able to get a clear view of the sky for that SOS function to work. But we have one of those that we can loan out. Like I said, we're trying to provide equipment and supplies and encourage people to engage in this system at this point. A lot of carrot There's actually no stick involved at all. We have no regulatory function over this right now, and we're not doing inspections. So we're going to provide, we're actually doing proposals to provide more satellite communications so people can check them out and use them. We'd want them to do a plan as part of that checkout process. We're also going to provide first aid kits. The big thing is we're going to try to provide very soon on-campus training for wilderness first aid, CPR, first aid if they're not going into the wilderness, but if they're more local, they just need CPR and first aid because they're just going to be taking care of the person until a local emergency services can get there. And we're actually going to get up to the level of wilderness first responder, which is someone who's so remote that they really have to be able to take care of that person maybe for 2 or 3 days on end before that person can get extracted. So we're going to provide that training on campus. Right now, I believe up to the wilderness first aid level, there's 50% coverage of the funds for that from UCOP. So if we can provide any coverage in that 50% range, then it would leave whatever's left from there. I don't know how long those funds are going to last though. So any questions to this point? This plan, as you go on, going to plug again the occupational health people. At least 6 weeks prior to the trip is what they have written on here. I don't know where that came from, but I'm sure that came from somewhere.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Online. Will Outdoor Adventures continue to teach the wilderness first aid classes?
Yes, I do believe
Could
we're
you
going to
repeat the
leverage
question,
that.
please?
Oh, yes. So the question was, will Outdoor Adventures continue to teach the wilderness first aid classes? Yes, they're going to continue to do that. They're separate from us. We're going to try to leverage as much as we can of that relationship. But the Center of Excellence out of Berkeley, Sarah Sousa, has some relationships as well. So maybe we can even work together to bolster up their program as well. That's a good question. So as you go through the first aid training, the location of the first aid kit, things like that may actually move up close to the top of this form for importance. Safe work practices, if they have any SOPs. We have a graduate student right now in Christmas Island out in the Indian Ocean, and she's working with these massive crabs that are terrestrial, meaning they would drown if they went in the ocean. Kind of weird to think about, but they crawl across the land, and she's supposed to collect samples from these. Like, how are you gonna, what are you gonna, because they have these claws, these pincers that are bigger than my hand right here. And she was talking about how much force they can have. So we talked through the process of trying to avoid an incident and what PPE she should be wearing. So any way we can engage, this is a place for them to list things. Please tell them that we're here to help. We're not going to come over and, oh, well, you have to do this or that. We're going to talk through the process, and we're going to figure out how they can more safely do the work they're going to do and how we can support them in that way. So I'll show you all to the end of the form because it does allow them to, a little bit of information on first aid. Field safety plan allows them to draw a map or a diagram. And at the end, it has a place for people to sign and document. And just for specificity's sake, this is the device right here that we have. One of at this time, and we're going to get another one from UCOP, and then we're going to try to order some more and manage them ourselves. So this is the device I was talking about. This is two-way GPS communicator. Who has questions? Anything you can do, again, to like Mark was talking about, to get this out there. We know you're not going to be necessarily the one going out there doing the field research, but we want this to end up being one of those things where it's not just for researchers going out in the field. We want to actually end up benefiting everyone who works or is engaged with UC Davis. So you can take this with you. You can take that training with you. You get the training here if for whatever reason it is, or you get the discount, you take that with you when you go. And we want that to be a benefit to people at UC Davis. So anytime you want to get, if you want to come up to us, hey, I'm going on this personal trip, how can you help me? We're happy to help with that. Any other questions? If you need to contact us, fieldsafety@ucdavis.edu. That will go to between 3 and 5 people, and you'll get a response very soon, but that engages our entire system. Fieldsafety@ucdavis.edu. My name is JP. It's good to talk to y'all. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark and JP. I really appreciate your contribution. Thank you. Okay, let's see. I guess I see a new name here, James Ringo. And who's James Ringo?
you need the screen?
No, go ahead.
No, thanks.
James Ringo.
You might remember me from long ago. I'm currently on a work furlough from the local court.
So what was
good
your
morning.
criminal,
Good morning.
what did you, no, never mind. He
I'll
has
take
been
the
on jury
fifth.
duty.
I'm exercising my
Yes.
Fifth Amendment rights. So good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. I have just a couple of things to share. Not nearly as exciting as international travel, but do my best. One is I just want to follow up with a little bit what Grace was talking about with the transition to the Cayuse system and some changes that are just so you're aware. So that once the awards have been made and sent off, we in Contracts and Grants Accounting need 5 days to process those through. I believe we've walked through our new quality assurance process that we implemented a few months ago or longer ago. Time flies. So we need a little bit of time to get those things set up. But the thing is, if you don't see something from us within 5 days of the award being finalized and you know it's come through, if you would please contact Francisco Andrade and let him know that something hasn't arrived that you were expecting to see, because we're still working out a few little kinks in the process of data flowing over between SPO and over to our office and to get them on the right desks and everything. So that would be helpful for us to figure out where we might have a little glitch. So is that okay? Oops, shuffle here. Okay, I guess I'll get a little bit ahead of the curve perhaps, but I like to say things way in advance. So we have what I hope is going to be an exciting and useful system change coming up in a few months, I think, or certainly before UC Path comes into play, but hopefully in advance of that. And that is we're rewriting the cost share tracking system. It's going to be much smoother than the current system. We have we've been working with some mock-ups of it so far. We have a campus group coming in later today to look at, you know, what kind of a proof of concept, if you will, of what we think it'll look like. Conceptually, it'll do the same thing that the current system does. It'll just be much smoother. There will be a lot less setup required on your part and on the part of folks in our office. You know, we'll just be leveraging data that's already in the system to try and cut down on, well, the amount of time you have to spend putting stuff into the system, as well as cut down on potential errors. So that'll be good. Later this year, we'll probably be able to start doing some demos and let you see what it looks like. I don't know when we'll actually be able to launch it, but again, it'll definitely be before UC Path. So certainly within the next year. One other system change that's coming that I've mentioned many times, and that is really on we are now in hopefully the final phases of developing our contracts and grants billing module, which is what we will use in CGA to create invoices to send to sponsors. The thing there is that it will be, you know, our analysts will look at the first invoice that's created for a project and review it closely and make sure that everything is lining up. But then pretty much the concept is we're going to let the system do the billing. So that means whatever you put on the books is what the system is going to bill. So that again gets back to just ensuring that you've got the right expenses hitting the right accounts and minimizing the transfers and not creating situations where we've got credits coming in that are going to raise red flags with the new billing system, as well as just our existing processes. We've had some situations recently where quite a number of cases where we've had transfers coming in, creating credits on our letter of credit draws, and the agencies coming back to us saying, what are you doing? You know, why are you giving us money back? We don't, you know, We have a canned response that we just ship off and cross our fingers that they don't dig into it too much. But we might have to come back to you and say, well, really, what was going on? Why do we suddenly have this $50,000 credit? We pulled the money down. You're telling us now that we shouldn't have pulled that money down. It's not. It could be uncomfortable. Let's see. Those are those points. I think those are my things to mention this morning. Short, I know, but that's what I know as I pop in and out. Any questions, concerns? That's good. Okay, cool. Thank you. Uh-oh.
Somebody asked about final invoices. It just says final invoices with a question mark.
Could you ask them what?
So
they
that
have?
might be going to my contracts and the billing module. I said we will look closely at the first invoice and yes, very closely at the final invoice. If that was maybe what they were trying to get to, yes, we will definitely be going through our final invoices with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure that everything really is appropriate, allowable, and all of those. Thank you. Good question.
Okay, they said that you got it right. You
Okay.
answered it right. You got the question right. Yeah,
Reading minds. Okay,
that's
great.
good.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Any other questions in general for anybody? Nothing online? It's getting close to 10 o'clock. Okay, something is coming in. What is it? Go ahead.
You want me to get it?
Yes.
I was just reading it. I'm sorry, I was reading it all the way. Okay, so the question is for proposals/awards submitted prior to July 1st, they're not appearing in Cayuse. Who should we contact aside from the analyst to follow up? So we're not integrating old data. Any proposals that were due before July 1st are not going to show in Cayuse SP. They are still housed in our CGT tracking system. So if you have questions about that, you should contact your proposals analyst. You should have been informed who that was when that proposal was assigned and whoever you worked with. For awards, anything that we have worked on in July shows. So if you had an award that was fully executed July 3rd, but all of the work and on our end was complete in June, it's also not going to show in Cayuse SP. It is still housed in our contracts and grants tracking system. And in there, you would contact the awards analyst that you had worked with. If you're not sure, you can email awards@ucdavis.edu for awards questions or proposals@ucdavis.edu for proposals questions.
Good. Okay, I don't see anything else. Well, if there's nothing else, we can stop now. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming over, and see you in a month.